Take a moment to think about the top coming-of-age films of the last 3 decades. Some of you might think of classics like 16 Candles, Juno, Lady Bird, or The Perks of Being a Wallflower. These films have our hearts, because for many of us, these films shaped our understanding of what it meant to grow up and find ourselves. However, behind the nostalgia, these films all have one major fault. That is, these films completely disregard the experiences of Black girls coming of age. Can anyone here think of a mainstream coming-of-age film that features a Black female protagonist? Most of us can't. While there are coming-of-age films that feature Black female protagonists, such as Jezebel, Miss Juneteenth, and Solace, arguably, these films did not make it into the canon of great American coming-of-age films, or achieve the same commercial success. Today, I'd like to argue that the lack of Black female representation in the coming-of-age genre directly represents the erasure of Black girlhood in mainstream society. If we think about it, Black girls are usually not afforded the opportunity to be the girls next door, or the ones who get to be young, wild, and free. Instead, Black girls are often burdened with the responsibility of navigating adult-like issues. A great example of this is seen in the 2018 film, The Hate U Give. The film follows the life of 16-year-old Star Carter, a Black female protagonist who is trying to navigate the awkward high school years while also trying to juggle her 2 identities of living in a predominantly Black neighborhood that is stricken by poverty and crime, and attending a predominantly white school in the suburbs. In the opening scenes of the film, we don't get to see white picket fences and sunshine like you might see in most other non-BIPOC teenage dramas. Instead, we see depressed homes and businesses that are clearly struggling to stay afloat. When we get to meet the cast, we meet a 9-year-old version of Star and her family as they sit at their home dining table discussing what to do if stopped by the police. Now, when it happens, don't act mad, Star's dad Maverick says. You gotta look calm. Keep your hands out of your pockets. If you drop something, leave that stuff where it's at. This raw and unpleasant conversation set the tone for the rest of the film. Clearly, this would not be a feel-good film about teenage adolescence. In the scenes following, we're introduced to Star's friends and love interests from both her predominantly Black neighborhood and her school in the suburbs. One of Star's love interests is her childhood friend, Khalil Harris. Star narrates that the two shared their first kiss and formative years together in the predominantly Black neighborhood of Garden Heights. However, unlike traditional coming-of-age films, we don't get to see their love story unfold. In fact, we only get to spend a total of 10 minutes with Star and Khalil until their love story is tragically interrupted by Khalil's murder by police, all because of a hairbrush the officer claimed was a gun. With Khalil's death as a catalyst for the rest of the film, Garden Heights erupts into a battleground for justice as yet another unarmed Black man was shot and killed by the police. As the only witness to the murder, Star's childhood is interrupted as she is forced to become a witness in the case and become an advocate for social justice. Here, we get to see Star's childhood perpetuate the strong Black woman trope as she is thrust into activism before truly being able to grieve her friend's death. To make matters worse, all of this happens on the backdrop of Star's high school prom season. The Hate U Give is an important film because it illustrates the nuances of race, gender, and police brutality in America. However, the difference between white-led coming-of-age films and The Hate U Give is that the majority of coming-of-age moments in this film were overshadowed by looming undertones of inevitable violence. Some might push back in this argument and say that The Hate U Give was never meant to be a coming-of-age film. But the thing is, do we ever make police brutality-centered films for young white audiences? We don't. White coming-of-age films are about the best parts of growing up. Like in Say Anything, when John Cusack's character Lloyd holds a boombox above his head and serenades his valedictorian love interest, Diane. Or in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, when Emma Watson's character Sam stands at the back of a pickup truck as they listen to David Bowie's Heroes, and her friend Patrick drives them through the Fort Pitt Tunnel. These were some of the most iconic moments in the coming-of-age genre. And when we juxtapose them to The Hate U Give, we don't get any of that nostalgia back. Instead, The Hate U Give forces Black audiences to relive the worst parts of being Black on screen. So even with a star-studded film and a Black female lead, this film missed the mark, and the box office numbers reflect that. When we see white film characters enjoying the blissfulness of youth, smoking weed, attending prom, skipping school, and falling in love, we see them as kids being kids. In contrast, when we see Black film characters portrayed as gangsters, drug dealers, and prostitutes, we see them, Black kids, as criminals, and we are conditioned to see them as more mature. These media representations are harmful because they create an adultification bias towards Black kids. In 2017, the Georgetown Center on Poverty and Inequality released Girlhood Interrupted, a study that proved that adults view Black girls as more mature than their white peers, especially in the age range of 5 to 14. The study found that compared to white girls of the same age, Black girls needed less nurturing, they needed less protection, that they needed to be supported less, that they needed to be comforted less, that Black girls were more independent, and that Black girls knew more about adult-like topics like sex. Georgetown Law Center argued that the study's findings revealed a potential contributing factor in the disproportionate rates of punitive treatment of Black girls in the educational and juvenile justice system. In another study conducted by the Gina Davis Institute on Gender in Media, Black women and girls are 6.5% of the US population, but only 3.7% of leads and co-leads in the top 100 grossing films of the last decade. This figure has improved in recent years. Additionally, only 1 in 5 Black leading ladies from the past decade have a dark skin tone. And lastly, 57.1% of Black female leads in the past decade were depicted with hairstyles that conform to European standards of beauty, as opposed to natural Black hairstyles. The title of this talk is phrased as a question: who gets to be the girl next door? As a young girl, I frequently wondered if I would ever have the same coming-of-age moments that I saw depicted in the movies. I dreamed about these moments longingly, but just as coming-of-age films that featured Black female protagonists were non-existent, so was my own coming-of-age story. As an author, filmmaker, and producer, I'm committed to telling stories that positively center the experiences of Black women and girls. And that's why I founded Black Girls Don't Get Love, a multimedia coming-of-age brand for girls of color. At Black Girls Don't Get Love, our mission is to use media to turn silence into language and change the way Black women and girls are perceived in society. Earlier this year, I published the Black Girls Don't Get Love book, a coming-of-age story about a Black high school girl who is dealing with feelings of insecurity due to Eurocentric beauty standards. Right now, my team and I are currently fundraising to turn the Black Girls Don't Get Love book into a movie for streaming or theatrical release. I do this work because I never want another Black girl to wonder if she can too come of age. Today, I'd like to invite you on this journey with me of changing the coming of age narrative, not just in media representations, but in everyday life. We need to allow Black girls the opportunity to enjoy their youth. We need to protect Black girls from over-sexualization and adultification. We need to provide Black girls with the resources they need to succeed. This work takes all of us, but I'm confident that if we are intentional about creating the changes we wish to see, Black girls will too have the opportunity to be the girls next door. Thank you.